Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Xbox One and compare against the PlayStation 4 and see which specific console is the right one for you. Now, in my opinion, you can't really go wrong with either a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One in 2023. Both of these consoles have depreciated a ton in the used market. There are so many games available for both these consoles, and there's a lot of overlapping games between both these consoles as well. So it's not like you have to go ahead and buy an Xbox One or PlayStation 4 to play certain games. Clearly there are, console exclusives, but there's still lots of games that are overlapping between both, which is so beautiful. Now, there's also 3 different generations of each one of these consoles. So with an Xbox One and the original PlayStation 4, clearly there's going to be some differences. But also, if you compare an Xbox One S to a PlayStation 4 Slim or an Xbox One X to a PlayStation 4 Pro, like I said, there's going to be differences between each one. So we can kind of look at all of them kind of the same in this case. Clearly the Xbox One, is going to have certain features the PS4 doesn't have and vice versa. But even when you compare from one generation to the other, the Xbox One versus the Xbox One X, that is probably, that's a massive difference right there too. So keep that in mind. But if you have all the money in the world, you might as well go buy the next generation consoles, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X or S. Those are going to probably give you the best, bang for your buck. Not bang for your buck, but it's going to give you a better console, experience overall. Now, the design of the original PlayStation 4, I will say, was something that I liked a lot. I loved the way that original PlayStation 4 looked. It looked beautiful in my opinion, but I wasn't a fan of the original Xbox One. I looked at that console and I was just kind of shocked that that Microsoft decided to go down that direction. I loved the way the Xbox 360 looked. Even the original Xbox looked pretty decent. But then with the, Xbox One, I don't know, it looked like the Xbox 360e, which I wasn't that big of a fan of anyway. And then with the Xbox One, it just didn't really look that nice. However, everything changed when the Xbox One X attacked. And with the Xbox One S, you are getting, honestly, probably one of my favorite design consoles of all time. The PlayStation 5 is up there, but with the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, that was a beautiful console that I just love looking at. Even sometimes I just will stare at that console for like hours and hours because it looks so beautiful. In fact, I probably spent more time looking at the console than looking at the actual games that I was playing. With the PlayStation 4 Slim, I think this was a very good approach from Sony. It was a very small console, kept the same power, kept the same everything, which was very good. Was it perfect? No, but I think it was a really good approach from, Microsoft and Sony, both of them. I will say though, the Xbox One X versus the PS4 Pro, and this is where I'm not really super involved. I always felt like both devices were very powerful. And for them to make, that type of design change, for them to kind of make this more beefier, heavier console, I did like that approach, but it just wasn't for me. And like I said, the games that I usually play aren't super graphically intensive. I don't need the most amount of power. And if I am going to be going down that road, I may just go ahead and just play on my PC or something because it might be a little bit more powerful on there. But if I'm playing a console exclusive, clearly I won't be able to do that. So I will always say from the design standpoint, I've always felt like a console like the Xbox One S always looked better than all the other consoles, all the 6 consoles we're kind of looking at. But the PS4 Pro would probably be the one that I would kind of look at as more of probably the most powerful one out of all of them. So that's always something that kind of stood out to me. Now on the console UI, so when you actually boot up this console and you're actually going through the UI, funny enough, I've always felt like the Xbox One software looked visually better than the PS4 software. I feel like the PS4 was just way too similar to the PlayStation 3 software, even the PSP software, almost even the PS Vita software too. And I feel like for the next generation console, they had to make some changes. And I've always felt like Sony could have made some changes there. But funny enough, things actually changed when the next generation of consoles came out. So when the PS5 came out and I was comparing that UI against the Xbox Series X and S, I was basically noticing that the UI on the Xbox Series X was almost the exact same thing as the Xbox One's, but then on the PS5, it was more of a visual change, and I love that a lot. The PS5 UI looks very nice, it looks so premium, it looks so clean, and clearly it looks very similar to the PS4 software, but that was still something that I really did like that, Sony actually did, that they did make some pretty big changes there. So from my specific standpoint, that was a really cool thing that ended up happening there too. So that was awesome. I did also look at, the graphics and everything like that too. And clearly there's going to be a lot of, similarity. But beyond than just the power standpoint, the UI and everything is going to be, fairly different between them as well. Now, on top of that, both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 are still getting games that are still somewhat supported. So you are still basically going through, you can still actually play a lot of the same games between them. And, from one thing that I've seen, it's always kind of shown that most people are going to play their games in 1080p. You may upscale some games here and there. So from an Xbox One, comparing to the PlayStation 4, I would say you're probably getting a more powerful console from the original PS4 than from the original Xbox One. But by the time the Xbox One X and the, PlayStation 4 Pro came out, you're really, I don't know, you might not actually be looking at these consoles as somewhat of a which one is the more powerful one, that's the one I'm going to get. You may actually rather be looking at these consoles as, oh, this one, can play these games and this console can play these games. So maybe I'm going to choose one over the other in that perspective. Very rarely do I see nowadays that people will end up buying a PS5 or Xbox Series X or S because of the certain features that came within it. It's usually, oh, you can play Halo on this game and you can play, this game on this console. So I think in this day and age, it's probably meaning less and less about the outside, the looks, the features, those things, because most people are probably going to buy these consoles mostly because of the way they, the games that you can play within them. And now that you can basically play so many games between all of them that are basically the same, if you want to play whatever game, you have the capability on all of these consoles, which is awesome. So I will probably tell you in this day and age, the Xbox One is a very good console and the PlayStation 4 is a very good console as well. Both of these lifespans are pretty much done. There are still some games that are coming out here and there, but for the most part, these games are done. These consoles are, pretty much at the end of life. They're still going to get support of software. There's going to be, getting things here and there. But when you look at a console like the, PS4 or the Xbox One, you kind of have to make a decision of which games do you like playing? Are there any exclusive games that you like on any one of these consoles? If there are, you're probably going to have to buy that console. There's no way you can play Halo games on a PS4, and there's no way you can play PS4 exclusive games on an Xbox One. Things can change in the future, and I would say, like with the Microsoft acquisition of Activision or whatever they're doing, that can probably affect some games coming out in the future, like Call of Duty games or whatnot. But the thing you have to keep in mind is that all of the games that came out for these consoles are probably already out. There's not going to be some games that are going to be coming out for the Xbox One or PS4 probably like 5 years from now. So it's a nice thing to buy these consoles. You can buy both of them, and you're going to have a ton of games to play. There's endless amounts of games you can play. They're both backwards compatible, so you can go and play some older generation games on them too. So if you don't want to buy a PS5 or an Xbox, the newer one, you might as well just go ahead and buy an Xbox One or a PS4. But if you have the ability of actually buying one of the, newer consoles, getting a PS5 or an Xbox Series X is probably the best way you can go. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.